everybody, and welcome back to the Discerning Otaku. And we are currently at the start of the fall 2023 anime season. And now this is just the end of the first week of new premieres. There haven't been too many yet. I should have another video hopefully later this week continuing on. There's a lot I'm checking out this season. So without further ado, I'm just going to jump right into the first one. The first one I checked out was My Daughter Left the Nest and Returned as an S-Rank Adventurer. Now, I really wanted to enjoy this one. I know it's just based off a light novel. It's just your standard fantasy. There's no isekai. It's just a fantasy world where a girl gets abandoned in the woods and he becomes her adopted father. He's a retired adventurer, finds her and decides to raise her. At the age of 12, she sets off on her own journey. We cut into the future past that, and she is now ranked an S-rank adventurer and one of the strongest in the land. The plot at that point kind of divulges down into her trying to get time off from the guild to go and visit her father. End of the first episode didn't really get anywhere other than to show that she kind of has a father complex, and she's obsessed with all things father, even stopping at one point to help an adventurer on the road because that person is not even an adventurer, just a noble who's trying to get home to her father before he passes away. It's very generic. I wanted to like it, but in all honesty, I was kind of bored watching it. She doesn't get home to see her father. She just keeps sending him letters saying, I'll be there someday. And you just see her father basically get depressed over and over again. So in all honesty, if you're looking for something with an overpowered female protagonist in a fantasy setting, it might work for you. But for me, I was honestly just kind of bored. It isn't bad, it's just very, very generic. And with the amount of stuff coming out each season, if it falls into this fully generic type of show, it's honestly not much worth your time unless you're looking for something specifically within that genre. And once again, that is My Daughter Left the Nest and Returned an S-Rank Adventurer. Now, second up on my list, and probably my favorite thus far, it is my favorite thus far, is Frieren Beyond Journeys End. I heard a lot about this one from Glass Reflection, has gone on about it many, many times, because I believe he's either read the manga or the light novel of this, and I kind of just put off because I knew an anime was coming and I wanted to kind of check that out without knowing too much of what was going on. But this actually dropped the first 4 episodes already up on Crunchyroll. Premise of this is Frieren is in the hero's party with Himmel, Hyder, and I don't remember the other one's name, unfortunately. But basically, she's in the hero's party. They defeat the Demon King, and then they go back to the capital city to party, and then she sets off on another journey. Frieren is basically a timeless elf. She lives for an extremely long period of time, and she doesn't seem to understand humans and things like that, and she doesn't seem to get involved with anyone because she's aware that she will outlive all of them. So she's seen as a very emotionless elf. And even when Himmel passes away, who is the hero from her party, she's accused of not caring, accused of being heartless, and then towards the end, when they're actually burying him, she starts to break down. And she decides at that point to try and learn more about humans, more about humanity and what drives them forward. Fast forward a little bit into the story, she goes back and meets up with Hyder, who has adopted a small mage girl named Fern, and he tries to get her to take Fern as her apprentice. She refuses, stating that she will only get in her way. You can kind of tell if you're reading between the lines, it's because she doesn't want to lose anyone else. And I think that the character is kind of poised as this archetype of trying to learn about humanity and not fully understanding emotions, but trying to do everything within her own ability to come to terms with these emotions. Without spoiling too much of the story, because like I said, the first 4 episodes are out now. The show very much feels like a study on mortality, what it means to die, what it means um, to kind of figure out relationships with people, to try and figure out what really is worthwhile in life. That's a very emotional show. I started it yesterday and actually binged the first three, finished the fourth this morning, and can't wait for the fifth to come out in, I believe, 5 more days or 6 more days at the time of this recording. But it'll probably, I mean, barring anything else, so far it's my favorite this season. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's done by Madhouse, and they do an absolutely incredible job with the animation. Everything's very beautifully done. The story or the environment is very, very well fleshed out. It seems to be a more laid back fantasy show. I wouldn't put it in the same realm as like I've been killing slimes for 300 years, maxed out my level, or the Saint's power is omnipotent. I wouldn't put it in the same realm as those, but it does kind of have that light-hearted emotional journey more so than action scenes. While there are a couple action scenes, they're very much the background of it. It's not what the show is focusing on. It's very much focusing on this emotional journey that this character is taking. She's going to live for over 1,000 years. So she's watched her friends pass by her without really getting to know them in her terms based on how long she lives. And so it's very much just a show about exploring that, exploring mortality, exploring what it means to go through life. And I definitely think you should check this one out. It's absolutely phenomenal. Once again, it's Frieren Beyond Journeys End. I highly recommend this one. Definitely check it out. Next one I wasn't going to check out. I'm kind of sad that I did. I'm going to preface this by saying FLCL, the original, is my absolutely favorite anime of all time. I grew up watching it. I've revisited every few years. It holds up to me. The animation style that Gainax did is incredible. The manga sequences, everything, the pillows, soundtrack is absolutely beautiful. I love everything about it. However, FLC Grunge or FLCL Grunge came out this season. They already dropped all 3 episodes. I watched the first one. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. It pains me to say that. Production IG does the animation on it, and I love Production IG, but it's bad. It's just so bad. The pillows are still doing the music, so the music's phenomenal. The show does still have the attitude of FLCL, but it's just not. It's full CG animation that just looks clunky. I don't like it. I don't know. The rankings on Mal are abysmal right now, and it's very easy to see why. It's not great. It's honestly, don't get me wrong, I love FLCL, I love Production IG, I love the pillows, and you'd think you combine all those together and you're going to get something fantastic, but you don't. You get, it's bad. I didn't like Trigun Stampede, and that was a wonderful animation company as well, but I couldn't stand that art style. And FLCL Grunge kind of went that way, even though it's not as clean as Trigun Stampede. I wouldn't recommend it. I honestly wouldn't recommend it to anybody. I just think it's bad. And that's all I'm going to say on that. And I'm going to move on to the next one here. The next show that I checked out is MF Ghost, which I believe is more or less considered the spiritual successor to Initial D. Now, I did not grow up watching Initial D, so I can say that my knowledge on that series is very, very low. But after watching the first episode of MF Ghost, I might have to go back and check it out. The story is not particularly interesting as of yet. It's about a driving or a racing academy student coming from the UK to try and find his missing father, and he decides to take part in this series of races called MF Ghost. It's in the near future where gas-powered cars are a thing of the past, and the only way to really enjoy them now is to watch these races, which appear to be very similar to a combination of single-car street races and rally. They are on asphalt tracks, and they are based on timed, so similar to rally in that way, and there are on the street, so similar street in that way. But he takes part in this. In the first episode, he's just gearing up to go into his qualifying lap, and his family the family he is staying with, the daughter is actually one of the MF Angels, which are basically the flag girls, and they're not aware of each other being part of this. But it looks like there's going to be some mystery angle to it. The car animations are actually surprisingly well done. They're very minor CG, so they're not fully hand-drawn, but it's actually done in a way that it's trying to hide the CG. So the animation's not bad. I actually have no qualms with it whatsoever. The story more or less seems okay. To me, I kind of feel like I'm going to end up watching this for the same reason I watched Skate the Infinity, where it's going to be adrenaline pumping race segments. I think that's where this one's going. I'll know more on the second episode. But as far as the first episode goes, I was actually pretty entertained by it. I didn't have much in the way of looking forward to it. As like I had said, I'd not watched Initial D. But after the first episode, it was enjoyable. I'm going to keep up with it at least for the first few episodes. A lot of the times I'll drop things after episode 3 if it hasn't really kicked off or grabbed my attention. And sometimes I'll drop things after episode 1 if it feels very generic. But this actually feels like it might be unique, and there aren't too many car racing shows anymore. There was a higher prevalence in the early 2000s thanks to Initial D and Redline, but it's been a little bit. So I think this one, it's very early to say, but maybe this will kind of bring some of that back in. That's MF Ghost. And the last one on this list for the week, which is the last one that has aired up to this point, is Ragna Crimson. I had high hopes for this one. It's another fantasy based show, non-isekai, about a guy who goes dragon hunting. You can either stab them with silver swords to freeze their blood or wait for the sun to bake them like vampires. It's not interesting. It's another one of those shows. It's just extremely generic. You have Ragna, who considers himself cursed because his parents were eaten by dragons. His adoptive parents were eaten by dragons. A man who purchased him's house burnt down by dragons. So he's cursed, and then he's rescued by a 12-year-old genius dragon hunting prodigy named Leo, and he basically just follows her around while she kills dragons until he starts having dreams where she's murdered, and then his future self gives his past self his power so he can save her when the town is attacked by dragons, and then it shows a scene at the end where his future self is talking to what appears to be a dragon god about how it's all up to the past. It's convoluted. The animation is extremely generic. I'm talking almost everything was a static animation. It cut to the main characters walking through the town, and there are townspeople. The townspeople are static images. Everything is static. I've seen better animation in visual novels. I've seen better stories in visual novels. It's just not, honestly, I don't feel it's worth watching. It's extremely generic. The animation is not that great. I had high hopes for it because at least the premise initially sounded interesting, but when it was executed, it just kind of falters. So I'm dropping this one after the first episode. I really can't recommend it. Once again, unless you are low on your fantasy anime for the season. But obviously, this being the first week, there's already been 2 that I would suggest dropping, and you have much better choices like Frieren coming out there. And there are going to be other action animes this season. We're still very, very early in, and honestly, I would pass on this one. So that's basically what I've checked out this week. I should have another video hopefully out soon with the next batch. I believe I've got like 35 shows I'm checking out this season. So there should be a substantial amount of videos I'll try and keep up with to put them out as quickly as possible. But what are you watching this season? Let me know in the comments down below what you're watching, if you think I'm wrong on any of these, if you know of anything about these, if you've read the mangas, if you've read the light novels, if I'm really just missed the mark on some of these, or if you agree with me. Let's get some conversations started. Let me know what you're excited about, what you're watching. If there's any recommendations you would give me for this season, just let me know. I'd be very interested to hear about them. But if you're so inclined, click the like button, click subscribe. I'd greatly appreciate it. But beyond that, as per always, read more watch more anime, read more manga, and have a good day.